Well, it's silly season, as they call it, elections later in the year in South Africa. But before we get to those national elections, there's elections just down the road from Soccer City. In fact, SAFA House is the big one if you're sporty that you're expecting to, see what the result would be, isn't it? I'm joined by Sandile Zungu, who's chairman of AmaZulu USU, to one of the biggest clubs in the country. And you are running, sir, for the presidency of the South African Football Association. But I think before we get to that part, a little background of Manzini. Why did you put your hand up, for this position? Because, we have this conversation. It's tough in that office.
I'm still chairman of AmaZulu. Yes. And so it happened a few months ago that I was approached by regions of SAFA to say I must contest for the presidency of SAFA. And it took me 2 months to consult quite widely and to sleep over it. And when I came back, I said, yes, I've analyzed the situation. There's a huge demand for change at SAFA. We're punching way below our weight. There is a huge trust deficit between SAFA and the corporate sector, who should really be our lifeblood. And I think I'm equal to the task of helping to address some of these challenges. And that's really the reason why I said, yes, I'm in it.
And I know we've been tracking your run, as it were, here at the ENCA. And the one thing we've picked up is that you're playing the ball and not the man, as it were. And understandably why. You want to run a clean campaign. But there's obviously things that you've picked up that you probably identified that need change within South African football. And sometimes we strive to fix from the bottom down, but being in business, you kind of know that it starts at the top.
No, absolutely. We cannot be negative. We cannot play the man, whereas the ball is glaring us in front of our faces. But it does not mean that we must not be firm, frank, and objective about the challenges. And if someone puts on that coat and say, well, it's him, tough on those people or on that person, it's nothing personal. When we say there's governance failures at SAFA, we mean just that address those governance failures, far too many, not only at the top, but also at regional level, that require leadership to address them. When we say there's a poor accountability, it may not have a face, but it's what it is. There's got to be accountability to inspire confidence in the corporate sector. And that requires someone to take responsibility and to say, I'll be the shepherd. Yes, I may not be working on my own, but I'll take the responsibility of leading from the front to resolve these issues. And that's basically the situation. Someone needs to say, I'm here to resolve this in the shortest space of time, to inspire confidence, to give regions a chance to be the bedrock upon which development takes place. Resources must be channeled to the regions. Human capital that is fit for purpose must be found in the regions, so that the pressure is not at the center. It must be dispersed to where it should really be. And young people in regions must not see the PSL teams as the only vehicle, as the only avenue through which they can showcase their talent. There must be opportunities at regions, in provinces, and which will allow young people, young talent, to go straight from the regions or provinces to international best centers to flourish.
I sit here and say, yes, we've noticed, we've seen what you're offering on paper. The reality is on the ground, it might be slightly different. It might be slightly difficult to do so. Where and how do you start tackling those challenges as you've put them? Because I could say development, school sports. You've got your rugby who's obviously flourishing. They're doing something right. And I hate making the comparison because these are two totally different sporting codes. The one has a history of being funded anyway The other one has always been left to Abantu Bamnyama or ourselves, whoever's involved in it, to take it forward. Where do you start? Because I would say if you got one term, let's say Manzini gets into that chair, after one term, is this something that you'd fix? Or because maybe the incumbent could say, I still need more time, hence I have not fixed all these things?
You must make that comparison, uncomfortable as it may be, because indeed, rugby as a sporting code, soccer as a sporting code, rugby appeals to probably, let's say, 10% of the South African population. It punches way above its weight. Soccer appeals to maybe 90% of the South African population. It punches way below its weight. The patronage that soccer enjoys from the commercial sector is in part because of our own, failures. I know lots of organizations who will say we'll not put money behind the mess because we have to account to our own shareholders. And we end up getting sympathy, support, just drip feeding us so that we are not seen complaining all the time. But it is our responsibility as soccer to dress ourselves for the party, to dress ourselves to be able to present to boards of companies. And I believe that that's the lowest hanging fruit to get our governance right. Within a year to 2 years, we'll have got our governance absolutely right so that we can talk to people from that vantage position. There are certain things which will take a long time to roll out. If you talk about schools soccer, it's not an overnight thing. You have to consult trade unions. We have to talk to the provincial departments of education. You talk about budgeting. You've got to talk to corporate sector, say who is up to the task of sponsoring school soccer. You've got to talk to Santaco, the tax association, because that's the most dependable mode of transport for schools.
All these people around, these kids around, yes.
Exactly. So maybe in about 2 seasons, we should be in a position, 2 calendar years rather, we should be in a position to say maybe we're rolling this thing out nationally. There may be a need for a pilot next year if we got all the stakeholders right. Pilot schools or pilot regions within provinces to see if this thing can work right. But it's very important to get school soccer right because that's where the nexus between business and social cohesion really is. If you get schools soccer working, you get children to dream. You get children out of the street on a sustainable basis. Then you actually organize the ecosystem of business to actually channel money in that direction. And in my opinion, when we say we have to view soccer as a business, not just an extension of a hobby, that's a perfect example. Once we talk about women's soccer, women's soccer is not about getting more women to play what is traditionally called a men's sport. It's about protecting them in leadership. It's about being intentional in training women as referees. VAR offers us a new dimension because it's a nascent form of refereeing. You sit behind a protected environment. You don't have to run up and down, but you need to be very focused and sharp. You understand the game. It's possible that South Africa can become the #1 developer of women VAR referees.
You touch on something there. Sorry to cut you off, Manzini. You touch on something, 2 points that I want to pick up on. The indictment that I think probably from WAFCON we've just seen. No South African female referee I saw there.
The quality of refereeing in South Africa is way below par. It's not only at WAFCON, but also even at a world stage. There was a time, World Cup. There was a time when you had more than 2 referees from South Africa.
3, 4 refs, I remember.
Yeah, correctly. Some of them were featuring quite prominently as even 4th officials. Not anymore. Why? Because, week in, week out, professional teams who showcase the quality of referees are complaining about the poor standard of referees. And the response is not visible, at least. You have to continuously train referees. You have to hold them to highest possible ethical standards. You have to hold them to a conscience that say, fairness is a standard globally around soccer. It must be visible on match days. You have to develop them. You have to remunerate them in a manner that is commensurate with the trade. I don't think that is happening right now. Again, it goes back to where's the money to pay referees.
This probably the question would be the same question that South Africa is asking themselves. The sports minister the other day, a couple of months back, saying, I've given money for VAR. The season has started, no VAR, something that I know that you're passionate about, something that you need in our football.
Soccer is a system. It's not an isolated occurrence. And if you're going to treat it as an occurrence, then you're going to brag that you've given money for a specific event. You've got to look at the system. And a system must start at development. It must start at the ethos around remuneration. It must look at the issue of technology and so on. It must look at the quality of venues that we have. You can just imagine putting a VAR system at, let's say, Chatsworth Stadium. You can see that it's actually very lacking. So you've got to look at all those things. And in my opinion, it requires a much broader conversation between SAFA, with SAFA leading that conversation, government, both at local as well as national government, the corporate sector, who stand ready to support soccer. But they're saying, get your systems, get your house in order, and then we'll come to the party. And when that happens, many things will be resolved just like that because the system is right.
I want to probably put a question in the aspect of football. And you mentioned rugby, and you said we should not shy away from comparing soft with rugby, bringing cricket to a certain extent. These two sports, rugby and cricket, if I sit here as a journalist and I say, well, the reason why they're probably successful is because they own themselves. When I say they own themselves, if you want to watch the Lions, you go to the Wanderers Stadium. If you want to watch the Bulls, you go to Loftus Stadium. If you want to watch the Sharks, you go to Kings Park. I say maybe what we lack in soccer is because we do not own, soccer, we do not own ourselves. If I wanted to buy a season ticket as an Usutu fan, I'm not sure where you are playing.
That's fair enough. I'm not so sure if that analogy is entirely correct. But let me talk about the Sharks. They don't own Kings Park Stadium.
Oh, but okay, fair enough. But
they have a long-term lease.
Yes.
Again, they secure those long-term arrangements from a point of view of credibility. We need to have credibility. We need to be credible to hold sustainable conversations. And we need to have a certain sense of longevity and accountability that inspires confidence across the table. But the comparison is in any case correct. If you look at, for example, our peers in Europe, English Premier League, the stadia are owned by soccer teams. And infrastructure is owned by clubs. If you look at KwaZulu-Natal, for example, from S.J. Smith to Cleveland Stadium, King Goodwill Zwelithini Stadium to Kings Park to Moses Mabhida, those are owned by local government. You need to have a dispensation, even if you don't own, but enter into long-term leases that allow people to invest in ticketing system and numbering of seats, that will allow season tickets to be sold, for example, that allows for broadcasters to install equipment on a long-term basis, knowing that on a match day, they just fit in the camera. But the gadgets are there. Precisely. So that requires systemic thinking, systematic thinking at the top level. To allow soccer to then have a fighting chance. But again, let's go back to development. Where is development in rugby? It's at schools. They have all these Craven Weeks and other competition. When you look at big private schools and big public schools play, you'll actually think it's a national tournament. Parents are involved. There are local sponsors for hydration products. There are people who are sponsoring the medical aspect. There are emergency response teams, fire, and everything. That's a business. If you were to analyze a Hilton Michaelhouse match, for example, and work out how much money is involved there. On a typical day, it will be millions.
A couple of millions, yes.
That's right. But our kids will play on a dusty field. And there will be one parent who is coming to watch his favorite son. Other parents are drinking somewhere, or they are working class, not involved because of their social structure will not permit them. There's a lackadaisical non-involvement and apathy from parents. You need to mobilize, and to mobilize society behind this product. SAFA has got to be at the center, because we're the ones who are the custodians of this product, of the game. We need to inspire. We need to inspire a job to say, I'm going to allow my daughter to go and play soccer.
And she'll be safe.
She will be safe.
Come back.
Because when I look at the value chain, the top to bottom, I'm inspired. But there is infrastructure for women athletes to change rather than changing in the open fields. So if we've got to talk about mobile change rooms for women, that requires money. So I want to keep on going back to say, unless we inspire the corporate sector to dip into their pockets to support the product, we'll be daydreaming.
Hey, looks like you've got a tough job ahead of you. Let's say come the 12th of September, Manzini takes the seat. Where do you start?
Yeah, well, I love challenges. Let's start there. I love challenges. It's a tough job ahead. But I'm trusting that people who will thrust me there will not abandon me, both not for one person. I may be articulating this as I see as a vision, but there are many people who are behind this vision, who must also roll up their sleeves, throw shoulder on the wheel, and let's all make it happen. Even those that will not have supported my candidature will have to come to the party.
And in fact, I was just about to go there because it's a contestation. We're still not sure who Manzini is going up against, whether even the incumbent is running, because somehow SAFA, as it stands, it is SAFA. But that's a conversation that my editor and I will have shortly after this conversation. The situation is you have to appeal, obviously, to the various regions that will, at the end of the day, put X next to yourself or whoever you're running up against. For those who do not vote for Manzini, for whichever reason, get another candidate is in, would you be sticking within, would you like to stay within the higher structures of football, and I say within SAFA, to try and push through the visions that you have?
Well, I'll be getting into SAFA House to work with what the Congress will have delivered to me as a collective of people to work with. It's not my decision. It will have been the decision of the Congress. And I have to take people at face value that they love football. But I can assure you that I'll be a tough taskmaster who is bringing the league into, the brand into disrepute will have to account. And whoever is lazy and is not prepared to roll up his sleeve and be equal to the task will expose herself or himself. We have a responsibility to take the product forward, and we have a limited time. For 4 years, if you compare SAFA in 4 years' time to SAFA today, it must be cheese and chalk, respectively. So that basically means I have to work with the people that I will find there. And for all I know, people are interested in change in SAFA. And for all I know, in the 52 regions, there's an overwhelming, pool of people who say we'll throw our weight behind Zungu. And for that, I'm highly humbled. But of course, the taste of the pudding is, and the outcomes come the 12th of September. And one is ready for anything. But we are putting a lot of effort to persuade them that this vision is very sound, we mean well, and we deserve to be supported.
Doesn't look too bad. I mean, I look at your current club, Usud, club that my grandmother grew up supporting. So, in essence, I supported. Top of the league, it's looking good. Good start to the season for you?
No, it's an excellent start to the season. And I was moaning this morning, looking at the electronic media, saying Sundowns beat Marumo Gallants and joins Chiefs and Paris as the joint leaders. I said, what about AmaZulu? We come from the region where we are overlooked, undermined, and not given the credit that we deserve.
Yes, you have five teams in the PSL.
We have 5 teams in the PSL. And KwaZulu-Natal has done exceptionally well to elevate the product. The people of KwaZulu-Natal are very passionate about soccer. Therefore, 5 on a typical weekend, there could be 5 games playing. But go to the stadium, there will be a very reasonable attendance at those stadia, which means they are very hungry for game. They see it as a nice avenue for showcasing themselves. And I think, that I come from that province. Not that I'll be the president of KwaZulu-Natal, but I think people of KwaZulu-Natal need to take pride that for the first time since SAFA was formed, there's a very credible candidate from the province who says, I want to be there to deliver change.
You mentioned the fans in the stadium, in particular in KZN. We've seen places like Mhlatuzi. I mean, every Friday night or Saturday night football there, Ziyabuya. Also, if they're playing a Kulugazi Lokshin, same thing, Ziyabuya. Durban City as well. The province has good football. Stadium, probably not taken to the bigger stadium. Mozambique as a smaller stadium, it's always countable, it's always full. Nationally, your thoughts on what we need to do as fans to actually fill up those stadiums? Because yes, even if it's the head of FNB, if it's unlike the big 3, I say big 3 in terms of the history, whether it's Naturena or Orlando, it rarely gets full. Your thoughts on how to bring those fans back into supporting football? Because when you grew up, before our time, that was the one thing that we definitely loved, endeared us to football, was always full.
Let me talk like SAFA president now and not talk like a PSL leader. You see, we need to cultivate enthusiasm and passion for soccer at regional level, at amateur level. In days gone by, black business was the trusted source of support for local competition. And when you go to those regional stadia alongside the arterial roads, you'll see thousands of people watching there, watching the local heroes compete with this village versus that village. And that tended to have an impact on support for professional football in those areas. The taxi associations tended to be mobilized in terms of how to transport fares from this village to Mozambique, or fares from this village to Hoyando Stadium, for example. So you need to go there. They want to see their local heroes showcase themselves in this. Now, if we have a team like AmaZulu, for example, not being able to have 2 or 3 players from the local, you are actually destroying the morale and the esteem of people in the locality. Now we have to find those people
That's the best place to obviously find them as well,
Exactly.
Because, yes.
So we find them, but therefore the development levels must be so strong that you cannot resist the temptation to hunt local.
Seems like you have a business plan already.
Yeah. No, absolutely. The business plan is there. The human capital to support the implementation of that business plan, I think it's there. What it will require is the passion that I've showed in taking AmaZulu to where it is now, to be replicated at a national platform, which is SAFA. To the extent that in AmaZulu I was able to mobilize corporate support. It continues even today. We have one of the international brands applying to be sponsors to AmaZulu. It's because they are seeing some good work. And I would like to see that magic, so to say, being expressed at the level of SAFA. And I think the future for soccer is very bright.
As we wrap up, Manzini, for those other regions who are probably still sitting on the fence, and for South Africans who will watch this and say, maybe he's my candidate, but I'm not quite too sure. Passing words before that election.
I am very passionate. I want this task handed over to me. And I believe I will be equal to the task, and South Africa will not be disappointed at all. I'm not going to decide who gets in there. People in the regions are going to decide. People in associate members, people in the special member of SAFA and the NEC members are going to decide. We have to appeal to their consciences to do the right thing, because it's not about Sandile Zungu. It's about the future of the South African product. It's a future of our kids' dreams who want to manifest in soccer.
Sandile Zungu, chairman of Usuthu, AmaZulu, my home team. I'm a Maritzburg boy myself. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on Beyond Game Day. And I want to say good luck. And I want to say good luck because I also want to say maybe whoever's watching, I'm not actually saying good luck because he's my candidate, but good luck. We do extend the welcome to all the other candidates, but none seem to be forthcoming. Maybe on a lighter note, why available? Why don't they tell us who you're running against?
Well, we're just as curious. People ask me, who are you running against? I said, look, all I know is that I was nominated, and I don't know who else was nominated. We just have to trust them to reveal correctly on the 28th. That's what they promised us. And it's then that we'll know who one is running against.
It's a pity you don't like playing the man, Mr. Mazungu, because I wanted to go that route. I mean, it's a bit of a shocker for us, but I get it. Hopefully they do come through to you. And the race is fair and clean. And for obviously the greatness of the country and the way forward is what I think a lot of South Africans are more, pressed on than who the individual is. But obviously, I think we'd all agree, as we had conversations here on Beyond Game Day, change is necessary sometimes. I think once you overstay, it does tend to be, business as usual and something fresh that we're looking for. Baba, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Okay. That's how we wrap up this edition of Beyond Game Day. Thank you very much indeed for joining us in this special edition. We'll catch up again, as Ubaba Zungu said, if on the 28th we get to know who the other candidates are. We'll try and reach out to them and have them here to state their case. But for now, do stay with us. More following after this.